How to Realize and Develop Your Personal Power by Ayan Farvahar. Having personal power is not about having a tough personality or dominating others. It's about knowing your worth and living your life with a sense of courage, trust, and conviction. When you choose to value and trust yourself unconditionally, nothing and no one can block or take away your personal power. Hi, this is Ayan Farvahar. I'm glad you're here. This channel is about self-realization and honoring our life purpose and meaning. If you're interested in these topics, please subscribe to stay connected. Your support is the foundation of this channel and encourages me to create more content in the future. Today, we want to focus on personal power and what it really means. Your personal power is not about being in position of power or being in control in all situations. It's about exercising your personal sovereignty and having courage to trust your decisions and your way of life without fear of judgment, failure, or rejection. When you exercise your personal power, no one can control or affect how you feel, think, or choose to live your life. Unfortunately, your personal power is not something you are born with or something you could develop by learning new techniques or projecting your power on others. It is rather the natural product of two other personal qualities, namely your self-trust and self-worth. When you trust yourself and know your worth, nothing in the world can take away or block your ability to exercise your personal power. In a way, self-trust and self-worth are the essential pillars of true personal power. This presentation is designed to help you recognize this important relationship and how real personal power can only exist when you choose to trust yourself unconditionally and notice your worth as an authentic and sovereign individual. More specifically, we cover the following topics: understanding the triad of self-trust, self-worth, and personal power; exercising personal power without self-trust; exercising personal power without self-worth; and understanding how we develop our self-trust and self-worth. Let's go over these. Understanding the triad of self-trust, self-worth, and personal power. As mentioned, a genuine personal power is a natural byproduct of two other personal qualities, namely self-trust and self-worth. This is because it would be hard to feel truly empowered without having confidence on our decisions or knowing our worth. Without these, we would end up searching for our confidence and value in our look, our relationships, our career or achievements, or in our material possessions. This makes our sense of worth and confidence subject to these external relations and identities. Without having an unconditional sense of self-trust or self-worth, we either remain subdued and powerless in life, or end up projecting our power on others in a distorted or controlling way. But with a genuine sense of self-trust and self-worth, we feel secure in all aspects of our being, which empowers us to live life with a sense of courage and conviction without identifying too much with our external relations or identities, such as our look, our career, our possessions, and so on. Exercising personal power without self-trust. Having true personal power without self-trust is not possible because when we have a low level of self-trust, all of our decisions are mixed with doubt. Because of that, we become self-critical, insecure, not believing in ourselves enough to feel empowered. Even if we happen to be in a position of power, maybe in a relationship or at work, our exercise of power usually manifests in a distorted or controlling way. For example, if I have a low level of self-trust, I would be less secure about myself and my decisions, and because of that, I would not like to be challenged or questioned by others. This usually results in me developing a rigid, controlling, or overreactive personality. And even when I have certain degree of authority or power, I may subconsciously use that power to manipulate or control others. Examples of this are common in a work environment, specifically in managerial positions. For example, managers that tend to micromanage their staff usually have a low level of self-trust, are insecure, and therefore tend to be controlling in position of power. Same can happen in emotional relationships when a partner with low sense of security or self-trust becomes overly possessive or controlling of the other. Self-trust is the foundation of personality because without it, it would be hard to realize our value or feel genuinely empowered in life. Exercising personal power without self-worth. Having a sense of self-worth is an existential need. Without knowing our self-worth, we gradually develop self-loathing or self-critical views about ourselves. For example, believing we are not smart or good enough, are not lovable, or don't deserve a good life. Ideally, a genuine sense of self-worth should exist internally by accepting and valuing ourselves as who we are as a person, irrespective of our external relations. When we are unable to access that sense of self-worth internally, we search to find it externally in our relationships, our possessions, and in our personal or professional achievements. We may even develop a personality that is hyper-focused on our appearance, having achievements, or chasing material possessions in order to compensate for a sense of self-worth that should otherwise be present without any of these. Relationships, achievements, or possessions are great things to have, but they can never define our worth as a human being. Exercising personal power without self-worth is possible, but only manifests in distorted ways. For example, if I don't have a genuine sense of self-worth, I may find my value and self-worth in my career, and when in position of power, I may use that power as a mean to protect whatever gives me a sense of value in that position. For example, if my self-worth comes from being rich and powerful, then I may use my power to become richer and even more powerful because my self-worth is not defined by me being a human being, but by me being someone who is rich and powerful. My exercise of power becomes self-serving, even to the point that it may alienate and suppress other human qualities I may possess, qualities like humility and compassion. Without a genuine sense of self-worth, exercise of power could become desperate, distorted, and self-serving. Understanding how we develop our self-trust and self-worth. Developing a sense of self-trust and self-worth starts during our childhood and developmental years. Under an ideal condition, we develop our self-worth when we grow up learning to value and love ourselves. This happens when at least one of our parents or guardians gives us unconditional love and acceptance for who we are as a child, irrespective of what we do or how we behave. Also, under an ideal condition, we develop our self-trust when we grow up learning to exercise courage and believe in ourselves. This happens when at least one of our parents, guardians, or teachers trusts us unconditionally and calls us to adventure and courage, but without judging or criticizing how we go about it. Unfortunately, for most of us, the conditions around our upbringing may not have been ideal. For example, if my parents or guardians were busy or emotionally cold or unavailable, I may not receive enough parental attention to realize my value as a child. Because they did not or could not spend time with me, I may feel I'm not a good child or even not lovable. So I won't have the chance to become aware of my self-worth, because that was not validated by my parents or guardians. As an adult, I continue to search for that value in my relationships with others, or look externally to receive the love and attention I needed back then, which, as we all know, can never be perfect. Similarly, if I grew up with loving but critical or over-controlling parents watching my every move, I may not find space to learn to trust myself by exercising courage to face challenges, because I grew up worrying about being judged or criticized by adults for not doing things exactly as they expected me to. Under this condition, it was probably safer for me not to exercise courage and not to trust myself, because that way I did not need to be judged or criticized by adults. You can see how the conditions around our early developmental years can affect our sense of self-worth and self-trust. It is important to contemplate on this without criticizing our parents or guardians, who probably had the best intentions in heart, but themselves had to grow up in similar or even less ideal circumstances. The key takeaway here is for us to realize that we need to recognize our self-worth and raise our self-trust now as adults. If you're interested to know more about this topic, consider my earlier presentations focused on self-trust and self-love, linked in the description below. Closing remarks. In closing, I hope you have found the ideas presented here useful. The main takeaway here is to realize that having personal power depends first on your awareness of your self-worth, and second on your ability to trust yourself unconditionally, without any fear of mistake, failure, or rejection. Your self-worth is your birthright, and no one can give it to you or take it away from you. When you realize your self-worth, you respect and love yourself too. You also choose to only engage in relationships that are mutually respectful and loving, and feel empowered to break those that no longer reflect how you view, value, or respect yourself. Likewise, when you choose to trust yourself unconditionally, you care about your decisions, goals, and aspirations. And because you care, you feel empowered to stand by and pursue them, because you have no fear of mistake, failure, or rejection. When you trust yourself unconditionally, you see your mistakes and failures as opportunities to learn and become wiser. Remember that your life is not defined by hardships, ordeals, or sufferings you went through, but by how you manage to overcome and rise above all of them, simply by trusting yourself unconditionally, especially in most difficult junctures in your life, when such trust was most needed. Your true personal power comes from you honoring and trusting yourself unconditionally, no matter where your destiny takes you. If you have found this presentation inspiring, please like and share it with your like-minded friends. Please subscribe to my channel and share your thoughts and comments. For more information about myself and my life mentorship practice, please find my bio link in the description below. Blessings.